Welcome to another exciting episode of the Fismaz show. We had a fantastic start last week with Stanton Lewis as our guest, and we can't thank you for listening in on the platform, on all different types of platforms. So really excited and looking forward to engaging with you once again. We're coming live for you from the Podzilla Media Studios, and I tell you what, it's a special place. We're going to create some really good magic out here, and please continue to keep following the Podzilla media pages across the different social media platforms. That's Twitter, that's Facebook, and that's on Instagram. Keep engaging with us and keep subscribing and making sure that you're downloading the show and really interacting with us on a weekly basis. And we've got a special guest today. He's already smiling. Can we get a bit of a drum roll, guys? Can we get some hands clapping or something? There we go.
Do I get my own drum roll?
Joe, you can't start talking until I introduce you. Huh? You see these English guys, they can't behave. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Joe Crann, South African soul. I don't know, are you South African or you can I?
No, technically not. Weirdly, I actually just applied for my new visa today. Like that's why I came in a little bit late.
He's a South African at heart, everyone. He's a South African at heart. So
I've been claimed apparently.
British-born South African football journalist from Soccer Laduma. Joe, thank you for your time.
Pleasure.
Yeah, you're quite a busy man. You told me just now you've been to over 6 countries.
Yeah, no, this year's been wild.
What have you been up to?
So I was did some work trips. So I was over in Azerbaijan for the Europa League final, which was.
And you survived.
Yeah, it was a bit of a weird one. I won't lie. It's it's an interesting place, Azerbaijan. Baku's mental. It's a proper crazy place. And then I just came back from France. Now I was over with Banyana, for the World Cup, which was great. Look, travel's a lot of fun. It's part of a nice perk of the job, but it's tiring sometimes.
No, I can imagine. I mean, I'm up and down with my job as well, and it can get quite hectic. And I mean, you touched on Banyana. You were out there in France. I mean, what was the atmosphere like being out there and with the team who have become famous for their entries into the stadium?
Yeah, look, I mean, I wasn't able to spend as much time with the team as I wanted to. They had their sort of camps that they are a little bit further afield than the main cities. So I didn't get to spend as much time off the field with them as I'd hoped, but they're such a great bunch of girls. You know, there's so many good personalities in there, so many just good people. You know, the one thing that always sticks with me was with Kaylin Svart after her debut. She played in the second game. I spoke to her afterwards, just asking her about how it was. You know, talking about she wasn't meant to play. I mean, Andile Dlamini was meant to start. She got the nod the night before, and I said to her, how was it? And she was just telling me about the experience. And after I'd said, cheers, thanks for the interview, I said, sadly I won't be at the third game. I'm going back to South Africa. She just gave me a massive hug. And, they're just a really nice bunch of people there, all the way up to the top, you know, with Coach Des as well. She's amazing. I'm just glad that they've taken that first step, you know. Getting to the World Cup was the real achievement for me. Now you move on from that. Now you build. Now you focus on the future, and hopefully it's not the last World Cup I go to with Banyana.
I guess it's kind of the way you look at it, because a lot of people are out there sometimes being a little bit negative with regards to obviously the results, and we know South Africans, if you go on social media, it's always someone's going to say something stupid.
South Africa,
you know?
South Africa's a country of extremes.
Yeah.
You know, South Africa's a country where when you're doing really well, you're the best in the world, you're the best in the planet. When you do badly, you're a waste of space, you might as well just get off. And I think that's been the case with Banyana a little bit. You know, they qualified for the World Cup, and all of a sudden they were sort of heroes of the country. And I mean, they're ranked 49th in the world, the second lowest ranked team in the entire World Cup. Never been there before. They went up against teams, all 3 of the teams in their group were top 16 in the world. They've all been to World Cups before. Germany have won the World Cup twice. You know, it's not an easy place to go, and South Africa's not got its own league. You know, we're still waiting for a national league here. So there's that as well. There's that. I think people have got to take Banyana on face value. You know, they've got to look at what they're actually dealing with. I mean, on what basis did people think they were going to go there and win the World Cup? Do you know what I mean? Like we're at a situation specifically with Banyana where there was a lot of people said they were going to go there and get hammered, you know. What happened to Thailand, the 13-0 against America? There was people who said that was going to happen to Banyana. And the fact of the matter is they held their own against Spain for a long period. If it wasn't for those 2 penalties and a sending off, who knows what might happen there.
And those, I don't want to talk about those penalties.
Look, the penalties, the more I see them, the more I think they were probably right. I mean,
you reckon?
Yeah, looking at it from I
No.
try and be neutral in the way that I look at things, and obviously when you look at things on a replay as well, it looks worse.
It looks worse. It slows things down, and
yeah.
I mean, in that sort of a situation, I mean, when her leg was raised, I mean, I'm like,
yeah,
you're not really gonna kick and pull it away. You kind of just the momentum.
Well,
is
that's
you kick
the
the
thing
ball
is,
and
like,
your leg kind of stays out there.
It's not with that. It's not always about intent, is it? It's also down to just dangerous play, whether you mean to or not. It doesn't have to be intentional. The China game, second half especially, they were much better. Again, China are a very good side. They got I think 3 tiers of professional football in China.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Their league's been going for about 22 years, so they're not coming up against sort of kids in this atmosphere. And then when you play against Germany, then I mean,
it's proper powerhouse.
It's Germany.
Yeah.
It's they are probably the one of the pinnacles of women's football in the world. Like say I think they've won the European Championship 7 times. They've won the World Cup twice. Won the Olympics. So they've got really, really good stature. And the fact that Banyana came away from this tournament with people knowing who they are, with people. I mean, Tembi especially.
Yeah.
Like that first game when Tembi scored that goal. It was amazing. Like, I'm not even South African, and I was watching from up there, and she scored it. And I meant to be a journalist, like I meant to be like neutral.
Neutral, yeah.
Timby scores that goal. I just jump up out my seat, hands in the air.
Couldn't help yourself.
Couldn't help myself, but it really was very much like that. And they speaking to a lot of people in France, they left a major impression. Every time Tembi got the ball, like as soon as Tembi gets the ball on that wing out wide, or she starts running at people, the crowds were just like going crazy, and it's a spectacle that is big, and I really hope that this is a bit of a watershed moment for South African women's football. Like these girls will always be the first, no matter what happens now. Janine van Wyk will always be the first woman to captain Banyana at a World Cup. Tembi Kgatlana will always be the first person to score for Banyana at a World Cup, and I just hope that there's a lot of young girls in that side, girls who are 25 or younger, who have got another World Cup or 2 in them, and I just hope that they can really take the experience that they've gained in France now and sort of impart that onto the next generation.
That's the beauty, isn't it, of the league that's potentially going to come into play, is that those players can then stay in the game, they can make money doing so, and
definitely.
And I mean, we've seen with the influx of money and a bit of backing in women's football, the difference it's made.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that's what it takes. You can't expect to just have these girls playing as a part-time job effectively and expect them to go on and challenge the world, but effectively that's what they've done. There's I think probably 6 or 7 girls in that entire Banyana squad who are playing professional football, and they're doing that outside the country. We've got girls playing in Lithuania and Sweden, places like that, and like I say, for me the achievement was getting there. Anyone who says otherwise, I think, is being incredibly unfair on their expectations of what Banyana were aiming to do at this World Cup.
I think maybe what kind of confuses people, especially people that don't follow the women's game, you almost gauge the World Cup with the Africa Cup of Nations, whereby you look, we came second there. We can do something, and it's a stark reality of the fact that European football, the USA team, Brazil, the South Americans,
US are a different level completely.
You look at the gap between then the African teams, and it's massive. It's even bigger than probably in the men's game, because I mean, a lot of those players, like you're saying, almost 3/4 of that Banyana team or that squad doesn't play professional football.
And I think the other issue we have is that people compare it to the men's game. So when you get drawn against China, for instance, you think
China.
Like they're not really a powerhouse of football, but the thing is, in women's football they are.
100%.
Tembi's playing over there, Linda Motlalo's playing over there, and they're playing professional ball now, and they're playing for very good sides, and I think that is the difference, is that you can't compare. Look, the whole comparison of guys football and girls football annoys me anyway, because they're different games. They need to be sort of ranked in different ways.
100%.
But the idea of people looking at China and going, Bafana would beat China, so do you know what I mean? Like it's a bit of a weird way to think of things. So I do think this World Cup has really opened a lot of eyes, though. I think it's been amazing. Especially having been out there, the way women's football is being viewed now, in comparison to, say, 4 years ago when the last World Cup was happening. There's a lot more hype about it. There's a lot more sort of understanding about it, and I think that's a massive step forward, and I'm really looking forward to 2023 now. And look, but South Africa's applied for that World Cup. Imagine if we could get that here, and that boost that would give to South African football.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we saw the impact that 2010 had on the country, and something like that would, especially for the women's game, really would take it up a notch.
Yeah, definitely.
And I mean, I look at the team now. I mean, a lot of the times, we've had that fascination with foreign coaches, and Desiree Ellis has come in and she's shown that, hey, look, man, I'm South African. I could do the job.
Des's story is amazing, really. She was sort of very late to the game in terms of her playing time, because Banyana wasn't a thing, didn't exist. They came into being in '93. She came in, they weren't professionals. She was working different jobs and getting fired from different jobs so she could play for South Africa.
Yeah.
And the fact that she's really into badges as well. She's gone through. She was assistant to Vera Pauw. She came in. She was interim for God knows how long before they said fair enough. Yeah, have the job.
Yeah.
Obviously took him to Olympics, took him to the first ever World Cup, and like I say, regardless of what happens with Desiree Ellis now, she'll always be the first, and I think the fact that she's South African makes that a little bit more special.
Yeah, 100%. And I hope a lot of people listening take notes from what Joe is saying with regards to the progress the women's game has made over the years. And I tell you what, there's still special things to come. I know you've got high ambitions for them. And how far do you think this group can go in terms of, do you think they can win the Africa Cup of Nations in the next few years?
AFCON, 100%. I think, AFCON, the African Women's Championship. I mean, you look at someone like Tembi, and I mean,
she's exciting.
Tembi's got something really special here. Like that's a real football player. She's 22 years old. She's already won African Player of the Year. I mean, that's something that's, I look at Tembi and I look at the excitement that she brings to the game, and she's that sort of player where, if the team's struggling, you just feel like she's got something in her. She's got she's got
spark that magic.
Pull something out of nowhere. I mean, her goal in the first game was a perfect example of that. Banyana weren't playing particularly badly. They weren't playing particularly well at that point, but she threw those step overs in and just bent it top corner, and you're going, wow, like this is people need to take note now. And she, like I say, she's 22 years old, and she's got the world at her feet now. She's gone up in the biggest stage possible. She's really marketed herself well. And I think there's, like I say, a group of players within this Banyana side now who are 24, 23 and younger. Someone like Kaylin Swartz, 24, Linda Motlalo, still young. These are all players that, you look at and go, we want them to be the backbone of Banyana going forward. And if we do get this league like we're meant to get, then that just opens all sorts of doors as well. And hopefully this is, like I say, a watershed moment for South African football, and we can keep pushing on from here. My main thing with this World Cup actually is that I just hope that some teams overseas, because like I say, there's going to be a process with the Women's League. I hope some teams overseas have seen something in some of these girls who are still playing in South Africa and go, we'll take a chance on them.
There. And I mean, one of the great things about the Banyana team, and I mean, you spoke about them being just fantastic people in general. They're such amazing ambassadors for the country, for women's football.
Massively.
And I mean, I look at people like Rafilwe Jane. I mean, whenever I see her, I mean, I'm just always so impressed with her demeanor and the way she carries herself, and then the way she plays in the park, that composure.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can speak about a lot of players. Jeanine van Wyk plays with her heart in her sleeve.
No,
I mean, throughout that team, there's a lot of characters like that.
Yeah, no, they are, like I say, they're the sort of people you want to represent your country. You look at the way Jeanine plays, for instance, and she's just a warrior. Like everything she does, it's like it's the last game she's ever going to play. And Fifi carries herself so well in terms of the role that she plays within that Banyana side. Everyone knows what she's done. Everyone knows sort of the route she's taken. And I think that one of the nicest things for me being in France now was seeing all these groups of girls who are going to the football with girls, daughters with their mums and with their aunties and their best friends, and these big, the Dutch were amazing because obviously Holland's quite close to France, so they came in massive numbers, just like a river of orange everywhere. But there's these groups of girls who have just come, and they're not with their dads, they're not with their uncles and brothers, and they're just there with these big groups of girls. And I just think it's amazing because now we have a generation of women football fans who are looking at footballers and going, they look like me. Like this is something I can really aspire to be now. Like
it's
they're
that tangible thing where you can
exactly,
see it. You can,
exactly, yeah.
Especially when you also see people from, I mean, South African fans can attest to this. When you see people from your neighborhood, it's almost like, oh, okay, well, if she can, why not me? You know?
No, exactly, and I think that's what I'm hoping this will happen with this Women's World Cup. I just hope there's young girls in South Africa who look at Tembi, who look at Janine, who look at Fifi, and they go, that's where I want to be. Like I want to be playing in the World Cup, and now it's a like you say, it's a tangible thing you can aim for now, because before they were kind of in the shadows a little bit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And now it is once the league kicks up as well, and once people realise you can actually make a living out of it, you're not going to have to work 2 jobs to play football as a hobby. You can actually make a living from it. I think that could be a massive game changer.
Well, 100%. A real game changer in terms of Banyana and the way they've gone about their business. No doubt will inspire a generation of footballers that will hopefully take the country to great heights. We're going to shift now our attention to the men's game. Bafana Bafana. They'll be competing in the Africa Cup of Nations in Egypt, and won't be an easy task. I mean, there was a lot of controversy with, well, I wouldn't say controversy, but you know, South Africans never always happy with the selection and the squad.
The selection day in South Africa is the most depressing day I have whenever it happens. Whenever I tweet the team or post a story about the team, I just look at my timeline and I'm just like, oh, it started.
You know what the funny thing is? The funny thing is, whenever I see any tweet from you, I just go to your mentions. I just want to laugh.
Oh, it's an absolute mess.
Because, you know, like the crazy thing is that the abuse you get is
and the worst
out
thing
of this world.
Half the time, it's not even opinion. It's just I state a fact, and they're like, "No,
like
you're an idiot."
Guys, you will see, like Joe will tweet to be like, "Oh, Kaizer Chiefs, they've lost 6 out of the last 7 games." Ah, yeah, Joe, you don't like Chiefs. How? But
I get told to go home a lot. Get out of the country. We don't need you here. No, it's football's a game of opinions. You know, ultimately that's what it comes down to. It is a game with a lot of emotion in it. But you know, I've been in the game for a long time now. I've been in South Africa for 8 years, so I like to think I know the sort of mindset of South African football fans a little bit. One of the things I think I've learned as I've matured, as I've grown up, especially with the national team, is you're never going to please everyone. You know, you're never going to please. You know, with this team, for instance, people are happy that there's Chiefs players there. Pirates fans are happy that there's Chiefs players in that squad. But ultimately, the way I see it is that Stuart Baxter's the one who's going to get fired if this all goes wrong.
Yeah.
You know, he's the one who is going to take the flak for it if they don't play well, if the players make a mistake, any of that stuff. Let him make his mistakes. But then if it goes right, then you know who to praise as well.
100%.
And I think that to a large extent with maybe Shakes Mashaba before, I mean, I don't recall ever being overly critical myself, but I do know that there was, you know, we all have opinions. There's players in this side that I feel, if it was up to me, should have been there.
Yeah.
I look at someone like Lebo Piri,
yeah,
who's playing amazingly well in France.
Playing really well in France,
if it was up to me, he would be in this squad. But, I mean, like I say, it's very easy for me to have an opinion because I'm not going to lose my job if Bafana lose in the AFCON. So I think that, you know, at this point, you've got to look to put your club allegiances to one side. You've got to look to put your opinions to one side. And like we were saying before with Banyana, I think that this Bafana squad is incredibly representative of the sort of players you want to be part of a national team. You know, there's a lot of good people in that side, and I'm not just talking the players, I'm talking the technical staff. You know, you've got people like Andre Aronson, who's won the AFCON with Bafana. Stuart Baxter's got a very good record. The players massively respect him. You know, in the squad, in the past we've heard issues of cliques and of, you know, different divides within the side, and you just don't seem to have that with this current group of players. And I think that we've got to be wary of our expectations now. You know, I don't know why. I think Stuart said it actually in an interview, in a press conference before. He said, I must have done a great job with this team because after the Seychelles game, we were useless, and now they want us to win the AFCON. Like,
it's crazy how, I mean, you think about Stuart Baxter, you think he would have proven himself as a coach who's coached in South Africa. I mean, he won the league twice with Kaizer Chiefs, did a fantastic job at SuperSport United. But the moment, one small, people forget about all of that.
Oh, of course, but I think
crazy.
that's the nature of a national team, innit?
Yeah.
Any national team job is hard, and you got to be a different kind of person to pull off being a national team coach, because especially in the modern era with social media, because everyone's got a voice now. Everyone can have a moan, everyone can say what they want to say, and I think that's the thing now, is that I think we're a lot more aware of what people think, which isn't always a good thing. But yeah, I think, like I say, the thing I really like about this group of players, aside from the fact there's some very, very good players in this side, they just seem to be a really good unit, and I think that is the sort of thing that can make a World Cup. You look at France, for instance. Make a tournament. You look at France at the World Cup, and yeah, they've got some very, very good players in that side. But you can also see just how together they are. The way that the togetherness that they show throughout. You even in the early stage of the World Cup, when they weren't necessarily firing, you could see the way they picked each other up, and I just think that with this group, I think Baxter's picked a team. Do you know what I mean? There are players there that on talent, on form, maybe they should be there, but would they have the same influence within the side? You look at someone like Tiani Mabunda, and Sugar's the perfect example, because sure, there are players who've had a better season than Sugar.
But I want to ask you something on that specific point. I mean, you speak of certain players maybe adding a bit of character into the team. Also, as a coach, you probably sit there and think, okay, who can I go to war with?
Oh, completely.
There's players that are out there, and you're like,
why do you think Dean Furman's played under the last three Bafana coaches?
100%.
We all know there are better players than him in terms of technical ability, but I will push you. You'd be hard pressed to find anyone with his kind of heart and his kind of spirit, and that's why under Gordon Iggesund, under Shakes Mashaba, now under Stuart Baxter, fans love to complain about Dean Furman, but the coaches all love him, and that's not a coincidence. And I think Sugar's of a similar ilk. Sugar, and I'm not by any means saying people should be in the national team just because they're a nice bloke. Like there's got to be a bit of ability there as well. Sugar's done a lot with Sundowns. He's won the Champions League. Mabunda, he's won league titles. He's won cups. But he does bring something to that side, and it's interesting. I was at training just before they left, and he's like a hype man for everybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who it is. It could be like Bruce Vuma catching a ball from across, or like Lebo Matiba having a strike. Like, he just cheers for everybody, and they're the sort of people, like you say, you want to take to war with you. And I think it's a similar situation with like Danny Cardoso. I think Danny Cardoso, I think it was one of the press conferences early doors, Baxter said, look, he's not the sexiest footballer in the PSL, but he's the sort of player that I think with a Cardoso you take to the AFCON, and he's probably not first choice. You've got Boutley, you've got Tyson, who are probably going to start ahead of him in centre back, but he's not going to cause any hassle if he's not playing. He's not going to kick up a stink if he doesn't get a run. And they're the sort of players you want. And I think, someone like a Tulani Serrero, in previous Bafana groups, we've heard about him being a trouble causer, with different coaches, him coming in and, say, causing a bit of trouble. But I don't know. I don't know that side of Tulani. I've never heard about that side of Tulani.
He's
and
kind of,
I mean, we've played football with Cream sometimes, and he's not like that.
I've hardly heard him say anything.
Yeah, and I think that with this squad, Baxter's been full of praise for Tulani in the way that he's handled himself, and the great thing with him is he's so versatile because of he obviously grew up playing as a 10 as an attacker in South Africa when he was at Ajax. Then he went over to Ajax Amsterdam and he's played as a 6, he's played as an 8, he's played as a 10. He can play as a winger as well if you need him.
You touched on that. So, I mean, we spoke about it with Stanton Lewis with regards to how they go about then training the guys and guys learning to play different positions. Especially if you play as a 10, you must almost be able to play all the way down the spine because you've got to fill in for certain positions.
And I think that's one of the really nice things about this Bafana squad, actually. You look at Kamahil Mokocho, Kamo made his name as a centre mid, but he sat very deep when he was playing for Twente, when he was playing for Pexvola as well. Very much a pivot. Seen him play a little bit further up the field with Brentford now, almost sort of in between an 8 and a 10. So you've got him who can play basically anywhere in that centre mid. You got Toulon, you can play all over. Bongani Zungu grew up as a winger, but he's been playing as a defensive mid. We know he can play centre mid because he played there for Sundowns as well. And I think that's when Baxter spoke of balance in this squad, I think that's the sort of thing he's talking about. You know, there's a lot of players who can play in a lot of places. You look at someone like Tembazwani, obviously we all know him as a winger, but against Libya he played centre mid and he had a great game. And I think that's the sort of thing that Baxter's sort of looking for, is he wants people who, depending on the opposition, depending on what happens in a game even, you know, you might get 25 minutes in and go, this ain't working, we need to change something. And I think that's very apparent within this side, that regardless of whether your favourites are in there, regardless of whether there's maybe more informed players that possibly deserve a place within the national team, AFCON's not the time to experiment. And I think that's the reasons why he's picked the side that he's had. Like I said, I have my opinions. That I don't agree with every player that he's picked. I don't agree with some of the people he's left out. But what good's it going to do to complain at this point? I just think we need to back the guys that are there. And like I say, they're a really good group of boys. And hopefully they can, even if they don't go on and win the AFCON, if they can give a good showing and they can show some fight and they can show some bottle, that's what really matters, I think.
One of the great things, I mean, you speak of guys that can come in and play different roles. I guess that's that versatility that any coach looks for in a tournament squad, because
definitely,
you know, you look at a guy like Raman Patle, like, yes, maybe not everyone's cup of tea, but maybe there's characteristics the coach has seen. If he wants to play a 3, he can play on the right of that back 3.
Yeah.
He can play for you as a wing back. Same with Cardoso. Cardoso can play the left on the 3. He can play at left back for you. He played there at Free State Stars.
Yeah.
That's that versatility essentially that a coach looks for, and say, okay, if I want to tweak things and I want to play different formations mid-game, I don't have to then have to worry about these guys adapting, because they've played those positions.
And it's like you say, like, you know, if you know, ultimately we probably know the 2 centre-backs, right?
Yeah.
So we know Bootley and Tyson are going to start, which is great because they've played together all season at Wits. They know each other. They've won leagues together. So that's a nice little bit of continuity there. Why would you pick someone who can only play centre-back when you can pick someone who can play in 2 or 3 positions?
Because, I mean, you speak of Tyson, he can also play
exactly.
right back for you.
And I think that's the sort of thing you're looking for, like you say, especially within a tournament squad. When you're doing friendlies, feel free to throw as many different names in there as you want. You know, you can have a run around, you can see what works, you can try a few combinations. But with a senior team for a senior tournament, you've got to pick the best squad that you think can get the job done. And people talk about favourites, and one of the things that always bugs me here is people talk about selection criteria. It's like the selection criteria is picking the best team. It's not about picking the best players necessarily. It's not about picking guys who've had a good run of form. And one thing I think that it might even have been Stuart that said it. He said, being an informed player doesn't make you an international player. And I think that's something you've got to really take into account with a senior national team. You know, you look at France. You think if Mbappe has a bad couple of months, they're going to drop him.
No.
Like if he falls out of form, you can bet your bottom dollar he's still in that France side. And I think that's where South Africa needs to be now. We need to be looking at players, and it's the same. Tyson's a perfect example. You know, Tyson. There was a spell when Wits were really struggling. You know. He's the captain of the Wits side. They were struggling, but he's also the captain of Bafana, and you're not going to drop him out just because Wits have had a few bad games when he's done a great job for Bafana every time he's been called upon. And I think you need to get to a point where you have a spine of players. Look, you should have a couple of informed guys like Tim Ngozi Lorch.
Yeah. Like
Lorch has been phenomenal for Pirates this season. He deserves to be there. You know, he's earned the place to be there. He was part of the Libya camp as well, so he's not an entirely new face. And he's been there for a few of the other qualifiers. So there are guys in there that are more based on this year's form than what they've done historically. But there are guys who should be there. For me, regardless of form, if they're good enough and their attitude's there, they should be in that Bafana squad anyway.
I look at that team and I think, you know, you hear people saying, so and so should be picked, or so and so, and there's a massive difference between an exciting player and a productive player.
Yeah,
you know?
completely.
And South Africans sometimes, you know, I mean, I'll make an example of Thabo Qalinga. I mean, there's some fans who are like, why is this guy not playing? Well, does he have?
And other guys who are just like, what does he offer?
Exactly.
Like, players like Section 10 will always split opinion because there is, like you say, creativity and productivity are very different things.
Yeah, and
some people have both,
stadiums,
like Messi has both.
Yeah.
He's creative, he's productive. It's the same with like a Neymar, for instance. When Neymar does tricks, it's with a purpose. He's beating a man. He's taking someone on because of it. And I think that with this national team, Stuart's tried to cut that out a little bit. He wants players who are going to be productive with the ball. He wants people who are. There's some very direct players in there. Percy's very direct. He runs at people. He always wants to get inside the box and do something with it. Lebo Matiba's the same. Very different player to Percy, but still very, very direct, and you know exactly what you're getting with him. And I think that there is a lot of productive players in this Bafana squad. And look, obviously the preparations have been a bit of a balls up. Not been ideal with only having that one game against Ghana. But on the plus side, no one's getting injured, so every cloud.
And you speak of the injuries. I look at that squad and I think, okay, key players here. The obvious one is Percy Tau at the top. Because goals become crucial. You know, who are the key men for you?
I think the keeper's going to be key.
How big is the Kune miss going to be?
It's interesting, the Kune thing, because everyone knows what Kune's got. Everyone knows what he's got in his locker, what kind of personality he is, how good he is to have around for the team. But he's 32 years old now, and you've got to take that step at some point. He's not going to be around forever, and he got this injury a long time ago. He was never really in contention for this squad. I don't even think now he could. I'm not sure now he could play. Even if there was a game tomorrow, I don't think he's fit enough to play. The nice thing I think with this squad specifically is if Popeye starts, that whole backline knows him. Atlanti knows him, Tyson, Boutle, like they've played together. Like they've played together a lot. And I think that makes a massive difference, because one of the things that I think is key for a defensive to have faith in their goalkeeper, and I think that they do have that with Darren. You look at the Libya game, for instance, and they're not afraid to knock the ball back to him. They're not afraid to let a ball bounce and know he's going to be there. And having that kind of that relationship can be big for a national team. Having that trust and having that belief in the person that stood behind you or stood alongside you, as the case maybe with the defenders. I think that is big. And look, that Libya game will be huge. If they'd gone into that Libya game and whether it had been him or Ronza, whoever had come in, if they'd had a difficult game, going into the AFCON might have been very tough. But having sort of had that game behind him now, I would imagine that Darren's going to start. I think Ronza gets a horrible rap from some fans.
But I want to actually say that.
But I do think Popeye will start, and like I say, going into that game on the back of that performance against Libya will be a big boost for everybody, not just for him. And
you touched on Ronald Williams in terms of obviously people. It's almost like as soon as he makes one mistake, he's not material.
But he's still being punished for that Brazil game that was like 5 years ago against one of the best teams in the world. Like none of the goals were even really his fault, if I remember rightly. And look, he's still young. Roman's I think 27 now. He's still got a lot of time in him. He's a very, very good goalkeeper, and it just kind of feels like. Every time even the slightest mistake happens, this guy conceded 4 against Brazil. It's like, how were you 4 years ago? Because I know I was a nightmare 4 years ago. So I think people don't take into consideration that growth, and I do think with Ronza and Popeye, we've got 2 very good goalkeepers at AFCON, and I'm confident in either whoever Baxter picks to start that game against Ivory Coast. I think for me, like I say, Darren's got that little bit of extra height. He's very, very good with crosses, which will come in handy against an Ivory Coast team. So I would, if I was a betting man, I'd put my money on Darren to start. So it's going to be interesting, but I do think we've got 2 good goalkeepers there, and obviously Bruce is along for the ride. He's there to gain a bit of experience because they see something in him, and they see a future Bafana number one potentially, and being at an AFCON and being at this level, I don't think, unless something goes drastically wrong with the two keepers, I don't think we'll see him play. But it'll be a great experience for him to be there.
But it did cause
it always does. It always does.
Especially with the way like a guy like Sandylands finishes
why
the
isn't
season.
Wayne there? Why isn't Mbata there?
It's
Yeah. But then they'll still tell him, oh no, we haven't got enough youngsters in here. No, I can't say what I want to say. Then I was going to swear. You're damned if you do. You're damned if you don't.
I'm interested to find out what you were really going to say.
It was similar to that, just a different word.
No, 100%. I mean, okay, now you've picked your keeper. So you've picked Popeye. You've picked your centre backs. Left back, you say Shanti. Who starts for your right back?
Right back's a problem because, Rama has not had a great season, especially not by his standards. Mkize did a good job when he was in there last time. They're going up against Wilfried Zaha, and that scares me. Look, it's going to be interesting because in the last game as well, he played wing backs. So he played 3 centre backs, and he played Slanty on the left side of that centre back pairing, and then he played Mayela, and he played I think it was Mkize at right wing back, and it's going to be interesting to see what he sort of goes for, whether he's going to go 3-5-2, 4-3-3. I mean, he might even play with a double pivot in there as well. So I think
I want you to pick your formation that you pick, and the personnel.
But if it happens now,
no, Joe, I don't want excuses, Joe.
No, it's not excuses.
Come on,
you know what my Twitter's like, mate. No, look, like I said, I think for me, based on how he's done recently, and based on his performance in the last game, I think I'd go Mkize just to keep things where they're at.
Are you playing 4?
Yeah, okay. If it was me, I'd play a back 4, and then I think people know, and I always get abused for it. I'll always start Dean Furman.
That's your pick. It's your pick.
Yeah, I think he brings a. I think the best way I can put it is that you notice him more when he's not there than when he is. When Dean's not around, you can tell he's not there. And I think that's the biggest compliment I can give to him, really. Makocha has to start. I don't think that South Africa has a better passer in the world right now than what Makocha's got. Tembazwane.
But you see that it brings in the controversy of you got to pick Gega now. So for me, we've got a nice selection essentially.
Like centre mid's a problem in this country because everyone wants to be a centre midfielder. Think about when we go play football, mate. Everyone wants to sit in the middle, picking passes. No one wants to go in goal or anything like that. Everyone wants to be a centre mid here, and that's one of the problems you've got is that if we could breed a few more strikers rather than centre midfielders, maybe we'd have a better strike rate. Like I say, I think for me, I'd go Makocho and Furman. Maybe sit Percy just behind Lebo Matiba. Left wing's a bit tough now because, I mean, for me it's Keegan Dolly all day long when he's fit. But obviously he's not there now. So, look, you're looking at Lorch possibly, but he also hasn't shown his best in a national team shirt when he's been called upon. I think Zwane has to start. If you're playing wingers, Zwane has to start.
Then can you go Zwane, Serrero? Maybe?
Yeah, look, well, that's the nice thing you get. Like I said with Serrero, he's very versatile, and that is a position. I mean, look, you could even play Serrero as a 10 and play Percy out wide, so that's also an option for you. But I don't think South Africa's got a better wing player, especially not locally, than Tembazwane right now, based on his form, based on what he's achieved.
Based on him breaking people's necks and...
Yeah, no, some of the stuff he does to people is embarrassing.
It's ridiculous.
Sometimes I actually wince when I watch him do it, and I was like, oh... This guy's got a family. Like, what are you doing? It's not fair.
He's a father.
Yeah. But the best thing about Tembazwane, do you remember there was that famous one earlier in the season where against Polokwane, when he literally he almost broke him in half. And then after the game, who was it who asked him? Might have been Pums. He said to him about that turn, and he said, "Yeah, but I missed afterwards, didn't I?" And I think that's brilliant. Like that's what I want to see from a guy. Like, great, he's beat his man, but then what are you doing with it? And the fact that he was annoyed at himself that he missed the opportunity afterwards, I think says all you need to know about Tembazwane and his mindset, and that's why people like him are in the national team. And like I say, that'd be sort of the formation I'd be looking at. But as I said before, I'm not getting fired if it don't work out. So,
but you will get abused on Twitter.
That'll happen anyway. Whether if they win it, I'll still get abused on Twitter. You said we shouldn't win it. Yeah, all right.
Probably the most entertaining thing you could ever find on social
if you ever
media.
need a laugh or make yourself feel a bit better, just go check out my Twitter.
Just go to Joe's mentions and you'll have a field day.
Weirdly, so when I was in France now, I tweeted a picture of my mum and dad because mum and dad came to visit because just jumped on a train from London, and I tweeted it and it got like 1,600 retweets or likes or whatever, and there was not one negative comment. I'm like, have I stepped in like this different universe? Like, what's going on? Why is like no one saying anything about my mom or saying my dad's got a big nose or...
It's family. I mean, there's certain lines you can't cross here.
This is true. South Africans are very big on respect for family, hey? In England, it's not that way. Yeah. We make mom jokes and stuff all the time. Whereas you guys are very respectful with that. So that might be it. That might be the case. It's like, we can call him a knobhead because it's him. But as soon as he's with his mom and dad, we can't say anything.
Joe, he looks so happy. Oh, your mum looks nice.
Yeah. So that was when I was getting people saying, thanks for your son. Like, what? It's a weird compliment.
It's almost like you shake your phone a bit. Like, is this?
It was like, has Twitter deleted the bad ones or what's going on?
No, it's crazy. And I mean, especially with you and your line of work, I mean, it's hard because, I mean, you look at, again, people are so passionate about their teams, and the moment you say anything negative or not even negative,
people think it's an attack. People think you're being personal. They take things personal that aren't personal. You know, you can state a stat and they'll be like, you hate Chiefs. I'm like, no, what?
No, it's just numbers. It is what it is.
I'm just telling you what's happening. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. And that's often the case. Is people seem to mistake statements as opinions, and that's one thing that I've had to develop quite a thick skin on. Sometimes I bite back, but not often.
No. I always just sit there with my popcorn and I'm like, here we go.
Someone said the other day that I was lying about interviewing Cesc Fabregas.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
So I just tweeted a picture of me and Cesc. I said, definitely didn't interview him, but this mannequin's cost me a fortune.
Yeah, I know. It's special times in South Africa. But you've enjoyed your experience in South Africa?
Yeah, I've had a great time. You know, I came here for the World Cup.
And you never left?
So actually, my story starts...
Must we get your papers checked? Last week we had someone who was deported.
Who?
A business colleague of Stanson's.
Oh, so it wasn't Stanton then. I was going to say, because he's definitely from here. No, like I say, my visa actually expires later this year. I'm in the process at the minute. But no, like... So my story with South Africa is actually a bit weird, right? So the very first football game I ever watched live was Sheffield Wednesday against Leeds United, 1997. Lucas Radebe was captain. And I don't know why, I always had a bit of a soft spot for him. And then... Do you know the game Football Manager? It used to be Championship Manager.
Yes.
So,
what do you mean? I've spoken to you about this.
Yeah. So, I'm just for the benefit of the listeners, isn't it? I'm creating things here.
Yeah, good work.
I know how this works.
Good work.
But you know, like, so the game before, I don't even remember. Cheeseboy Mokoena.
Yeah.
Junior Kanye. Tsovi Lakazi on, I think it was Champman 03 04 were incredible.
Yeah.
So I always used to sign those.
But I signed Javupuli once and he went AWOL.
It's true, isn't it? They're very factual on Football Manager. They do a lot of research. So at the time it was probably pretty spot on. But so there was those three, and I started a game with Charlton Athletic, and
was Sean there?
Sean Bartlett was there, Mark Fish was there, both at the same time, and I just had this weird affinity to South Africa since then. I came over in 2006 with my mum and dad on a holiday. First thing I did when I landed, I went and bought myself a Chief shirt and got Kaiser Jr. on the back.
Are you sure you want to say that?
Yeah, no, it's fine. Listen to the follow-up. So I went and bought myself a Chief shirt with Kaiser Jr. on the back, and I bought a Pirate shirt with Mokoena on the back. Mokoena 23, I think it was at the time. Because they were the two biggest clubs in South Africa. I'd had those guys on the game and stuff. And I just loved it. Yeah, we spent about 3 weeks. We travelled around. We went out to KZN, spent some time there. Did some time in Soweto as well. And it was just, so I'll tell you a little story, right? So when I came, this is the first time I've been to South Africa. When we came, it was 2006. Everyone's like, it's so dangerous there. What are you doing? Why are you going on there? And my mum's always been quite progressive, quite open. She's like, don't be daft. It's fine. And the one thing people are like, whatever you do, Like, it's fine. Go to Santon. Do this, do that. And my mum's like, yeah, I'm going to book us at a B&B in Soweto. All right, fair enough. So we go out. We're in this little Ford Fiesta. Horrible little car. Like no aircon, anything. Like, we're from England. We get hot very quickly. We came in like July. It was even then it was still warm. Yeah, you guys are like, it's so cold, and I'm just sweating with my shorts and my t-shirt on. But we had literally in the middle of the township, and the tire burst on the car, and we just see like people descend on the car, and my mum's like, should have listened. These guys literally came. They jacked up the car, fixed the wheel for us, and sent us on our way. And at that point, I'm like 16 at the time. I was like, this place is wicked. I love this country. So I said, I think either South Africa had applied for the World Cup that year, and it was on the verge of being announced, or it had been announced. I can't remember which way around it was. But I was like, Mum, I'm going to the World Cup in 2010. She's like, yeah, of course you are. You're 16. You think you're going to get your stuff together by the time you're 20 years old? I was like, no, I'm going. So I made a plan for myself. In the end, I came for the World Cup in 2010. I was working for Soccer Laduma at the time. It was like an intern. So I did like a month's internship. Then I finished that. And afterwards, Peter Dutoy, who owns the place, he's like, we like what you do. Like, do you want a job? So I was 20. I just applied to go to university in the UK. I'd done my journalism certificate. So it was like it was meant to be a postgrad, but if you did it under 19, it was free. So I thought I'd give it a try. So I passed that, came to South Africa, did like my gap year. And when Peter offered me the job, I thought, they'd probably say that to everybody. Yeah. You know, they come, oh, yeah, we really like what you do, move to South Africa. So I was like, yeah, all right, thanks, appreciate it. So I went on my way, was in Australia doing like a year-long trip. And I get a message from Peter. He's like, look, we weren't joking. Like, we'd love to have you on board. So I said, look, I'm in the middle of this 11-month journey around the world. Like, I can't come now. But if you are still keen for me to come through, I'd love to come check it out. So I moved here in 2011. I thought, I'll do a year. Yeah, see how it goes. Test the waters a little bit. Maybe I like the place. Maybe I don't. Maybe I go back to university. Yeah, 8 years later, still here. Still loving it. Yeah, look, like I say, I got a lot of good friends here. South African people are a lot of fun. I've made some really, really good friends here. I've made a good life for myself as well. You know, like, there's a lot of opportunity in South Africa if you're willing to fight for it, if you're willing to hustle. I mean, you know what it's like. I mean,
100%.
The hustle is real. If you are prepared to put in a hard slog, you can push on in South Africa. And I think people appreciate other people that are real. You know, if they can see that you're putting in the work, they'll back you. And I think that's a nice thing that I've learned while I've been here, is that I've sort of forged out a bit of a niche for myself. And even though I'm not from here, the fact that I've sort of, I suppose, thrown myself into South African football, I think there's a lot of Europeans, a lot of Western people maybe, who think they can just come here and
they know more or whatever.
Yeah, just by birthright, because they know football or whatever. Whereas, you know, like, I took time to, it was like learning a whole new language for me, you know, aside from the actual language, like the football league in general. Like, I came to South Africa and I knew a few players, I knew a few of the legends, knew the AFCON side from '96 and all that kind of stuff. But like, learning the whole PSL it's a struggle, you know. Like, there's a lot of people in there that when you're 21, 22 years old, all of a sudden you don't know anybody in the league. And I think that's why I felt it was the right thing to do. I felt like I was doing a disservice to our readers at Soccer Laduma, to my followers that I've since built up, if I don't fully immerse myself in what I do, because there's a lot of chances out there who aren't prepared to put in the hard slog. And especially in my position as someone who's not from here, I felt that it was the right thing to do for me to like I say, really throw myself into it and ingratiate myself into not just South African football, but South African football culture as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I can safely say that you are always welcome here at the Potsdam studio.
Thank you very much.
Welcome on the Fismaz show. We're definitely going to be tapping into you. I know the transfer window is open now. It's that time.
Sadly.
It's that time.
Sadly, it's not open yet. That's the worst thing, is there's loads going off, but it's still not open. It only opens on July 1st. So it's still a while to go before that kicks in. But already the nonsense has started.
What do you mean?
Literally,
nonsense,
my
Joe?
phone has been... Literally, since I've been sat here, I must have got about 25 messages. It's killing me. Someone might have signed for someone here. I hope you appreciate this.
Hey, Joe.
If I've missed a big scoop because I've been here...
McCarran, Justin, okay, you understand, this is a big moment here, eh? He's given
Do you
up
want me to
his
check?
time.
Should I check?
Just have a look. Maybe we can
check.
break a scoop here, guys, okay? What do you guys reckon?
No, nothing. You're
Nothing.
fine. We're safe.
So who is it then? Is it safe?
There's plenty of people, just no one with anything useful at this point. We'll see. Maybe get a phone call later.
Fair enough, but you're going to come and break some news here with us, hopefully, in the future.
Definitely.
And how do you think Bafana will do at the World Cup? I mean, at the Africa Cup of Nations?
I think they can get out of the group, and I think at that point, once you're out of the group, it's anyone's business then, you know.
And I mean, you look at some of those teams, they're not perhaps what they used to be. Cote d'Ivoire's not what they used to be.
No, they're not.
Morocco,
I think Morocco's an interesting one because they seem to be one of those teams that could be so hyped that they don't do what they're meant to. You know, they've got such a good side. They've got a great manager in charge as well with Hervé Renard. Guys like Hakim Ziyech, and they've got such a good squad there, but it might be one of those where they get so...
It's just hot and cold, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, look, they struggled against Zambia the other day, who haven't qualified for the AFCON, but then Ivory Coast smashed out Zambia 4-1. And, like, it's just... People, I think, read a little bit too much into the pre-tournament friendlies sometimes, which is never a good thing to do. Which might, again, even though South Africa's prep has been an absolute shambles, it might kind of play into their favour a little bit because no one really knows what to expect from them.
Yeah.
And... like I say, once they get out if they get out of the group stages, I mean, I'm thinking in my head, I'm thinking maybe beat Namibia, draw of Morocco, maybe lose to Ivory Coast.
You see, you're starting with calculators.
No, 4 points will be enough.
You reckon?
I think 4 points will be,
especially the calculators will come out.
No, 4 points. 4 points is especially with the third best placed team going through as well. Like I think 4 points should be enough. 5 points would be even better. So, you know, Bafana have got a real knack of doing well against the tougher teams and struggling against the little teams. So, if they can get a couple of draws against Ivory Coast and Morocco and then beat Namibia, then I think you've got a real chance. And like I say, once you get out of the group stages, it really is anybody's business. I mean, we've seen Zambia win it when, on paper, they were nowhere near the best side in that tournament. Even Cameroon last year, they had an absolute nightmare of a preparation for that tournament. They went on to win it, and they definitely weren't the best team there. So it's never really about on paper, especially with the AFCON. The AFCON's the most mental tournament in the world.
You can't really predict it.
No, you have like, and with VAR as well. Imagine quarterfinals onwards are going to be an absolute nightmare.
Maybe we'll have another incident where teams just refuse to play.
Who knows? Who knows? But look, I'm really excited. I'm gutted I won't be there. I won't be heading out to Egypt, unfortunately. So if you need me, I'll be around.
All right, 100%, Joe. We look forward to having you. And once again, thank you for being on the Fismaz show. And Joe Crann, ladies and gentlemen, he's more than likely going to be back in the studios. We're going to be talking transfers. We're going to be talking all things happening in South African football and African football. And who knows, maybe we'll have an AFCON special with a man from Sheffield. So it's just a pity that you should support.
You say it's a pity, but it doesn't make a difference to you, really, does it? Because we're not rivals to anybody. We literally don't hurt anyone. But not here, anyway.
An interesting point there. I mean, you from Sheffield, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't support them otherwise, would I?
How many people in South Africa actually support the teams from where they're from? It's always like,
not many.
Oh no, support Chiefs or Pirates.
Yeah.
And then now and then there's a sprinkling of Sundowns, and it's like,
yeah,
it's a weird touch, isn't it?
It's just different, isn't it? It's, you know, in the UK, I support Wednesday because I'm born there, because my dad did. Sorry, does. He's not dead. Because my dad does, my granddad does, his dad did. You know, like it's weird because in South Africa people talk about picking a team. You know, people talk about, I chose Pirates, I chose Sundowns, or I chose Chiefs or whatever. Whereas I never got a choice.
It's there, yeah.
7 years old, I was in a Sheffield Wednesday kit that my dad had forced on me in the stadium. And that's like, there was never a choice to be made. And I do think that it's nice. I don't think many places have got that kind of football culture.
Yeah.
You know, Germany's one of them. Germany still gets big crowds, second division. I mean, Sheffield Wednesday, we're so average, it's unbelievable.
Love the
my
honesty.
entire life, we've been rubbish. I had a season ticket when we were in the third division, and we were absolutely crap. It was awful. But the year we got promoted from League One to the Championship. We won the playoff final. It's the best day of my life. To this day, I don't think I've ever had a better day than that.
Did you have a Mike Dean celebration?
I probably wasn't as nice as that. It was a bit more leery. I just turned 18, I think. So, no, I was younger than that. But no, you know, it's a different culture, a complete different culture. Whereas here, you find often people select their teams based on success. Obviously, you do get the family thing, and you know that the thing is you have now is that people do base it on dads and mums and aunties and uncles and stuff. But because they already support Chiefs or Pirates, regardless of where they're from, that gets passed down to their kids.
Yeah.
So regardless of where their kids are, they end up supporting one of the big three anyway. And it's strange because like modern success doesn't really seem to change it. You know, Vits win trophies, SuperSport win trophies. No one moves on. You know, no one. Like you don't really find people jumping the fence. One interesting one actually is Cape Town City. Cape Town City have done an incredible job in building a fan base down in Cape Town. I think it helped in a sort of cannibalistic way that Ajax went down. I think there was a lot of people that were like, okay, I'm not going to NFT.
Jump ship.
Yeah. I'll just swap out this red shirt. I'll get a blue one. It's fine. But yeah, I think that's where we need to be now. You know, TS Galaxy are doing a great job. What they're doing down there with the fan base they're trying to build. Obviously, Leopards have got a massive audience in Toyando as well. And that's what I want to see. I want to see more of that. I want to see people who are arguing with me because they're a devout Black Leopards fan and they think that I'm an idiot. Yeah. Like I don't want to. I'm bored of arguing with Chiefs, Pirates, Sundowns fans. Give me a SuperSport fan to argue with. Yeah. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, great chatting to you, Joe. And some really good insights with regards to South African football and Joe really immersing himself in South African culture, which is always great to see from journalists and from people within the sport. So, that's the first Fismaz show. It's episode 2 in the bag. Don't forget, you can follow us on social media at Podzilla Media, the Fismaz show on Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe and to download the show and make sure that you keep supporting us. The feedback that we've had has been absolutely incredible. The numbers we've put up, man, jeez, I'm just giggling alone here. Mikaran, anything we need to add here? Apple Podcasts, so you can get us on the different platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, as well as YouTube. So make sure that you, again, subscribing to the show, leave a review, let us know how things go. And the Fismaz show, that's what you gotta search for. So
you just spell it.
Not Fizz, okay? So it's the FISMAZ show. All right, so it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Joe, thank you for your time.
No, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. It's always nice to sit down with someone who actually wants to talk about football and, you know, have a nice chat about it rather than being aggro all the time.
Well, I'll tell you a confession. I tried to put on your accent before you came in here, but I don't know if I'm doing a very good job.
Awful.
Is it horrible?
Yeah, because you sound like you're from London. I could also talk like that. It's fine.
I didn't know there was different accents. Oh, I know there's a merging.
We're so different. The best way to replicate my voice is do Jon Snow if you watch Game of Thrones, because that's what people think I sound like.
Alright, it's Joe Crann, aka Jon Snow. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a wrap for episode 2 of the Fismaz show, and see you next time. Well, it is a wrap for the Fismaz show for episode 2. We had Joe Crann in studio, and what a show we had. We spoke about Banyana, we spoke about Bafana Bafana. I guess it was the Banyana and Bafana show today, but a fantastic one nonetheless. Don't forget, you can find us all over social media at Podzilla Media, on Facebook at Podzilla_media on Instagram and Twitter. So make sure you follow those pages and you'll always get updates with regards to the show and all the cool things that are happening around Podzilla Media. And please, come on now, show us some love. Make sure you share, you like, you review the show, and keep downloading and backing us, because I mean, I tell you what, we're doing something special. We're creating something special at Podzilla Media and the Fismaz show. So really looking forward to that. And if you're still not sure where exactly you can find the show, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever you can get your podcasts, you can make sure that you're downloading and again, I emphasize, leave us some love, show some reviews there. Come on, guys. All right, but it's a wrap for episode 2. It's been a fantastic journey. It's still an early one, but I tell you what, something special is brewing here at the Podzilla Media Studios.